Alright, time to review Thursday 6th of August and Friday 7th of August because I was gone so I couldn't do it, so let's do it now. Okay, so Thursday 6th of August I actually did trade and then Friday I didn't trade. Thursday coming into the day I wrote down that we're expecting to take both sides of the overnight range. For once we actually have a really clean overnight range. I was wrong, we only took the lower side. And I was expecting to trade into this hourly resistance, which we did on Friday. And I expected it to make a lower low. So I expected a lot more than we got. We basically got lower and chop, or we got chop, lower, chop. Whereas I was expecting sort of run the low, then go up here, and then go there. Okay, and then I wrote not expecting much opportunity, to be honest. So I guess I kind of had the right consensus of not there not being very much, but yeah. So market opens and immediately runs the low, and then there's this, in my opinion, quite obvious setup because we rejected the low so obviously. We have a really clean down close before up move, little gap there, huge strong reaction back into the range. It's at the range low, you know. This is the range low. At the range low, you have the exact entry. I think it's really clean. I mean, I think it's very, very, very clean, and I think that it's really good trade. You would trail your stop, and then you wouldn't hit TP, but you get stopped out like here. But what I did was I missed this, and I missed it because I was basically unfocused, and so I didn't actually draw out the levels. And because I didn't actually draw out the levels, I didn't realize how clean this is. And I was looking at this, I was like, oh, you could long here maybe, but nah, it's not good enough. But if I had realized that it's at the exact range low, I would have been like, yeah, I should long. So eventually I did long because I was seeing the higher lows. I longed like in here, and then I could stop myself out like here, and it wasn't fantastic. And then eventually I was just like, okay, this is not really happening. I don't really feel like I'm trading that well, as I pretty much just quit pretty early. And yeah, it just kept going in the range. I don't really think there's much of a trade here. And eventually we went lower. And here you could have actually taken a decent trade. Just a little retest off there to go fill in this gap. That kind of makes sense. I think that's pretty obvious. Because we start the range. And then there was this as well in the evening, where we basically just took out the range high, really clean break and retest, and then you can just target the range midpoint. This being the range at that point. Yeah, so that was there too, but basically I didn't look at any of this. I was just like, okay, whatever. After I had like one or two failed attempts in here, I was just like, okay, this is not the day. But yeah, there was this really clean trade. Unfortunately, it just didn't hit TP. But yeah. So, anyways, let's look at Friday, which I did not trade at all. So this is the first time really like looking at it. Friday was NFP, so we had 8:30 NFP, and we have this NFP range. I was considering, I mean, just from looking at this, obviously I didn't see this live, but I'm thinking like on this breakdown back into the range, you could potentially look to go short, and you could try to TP, in the middle of the range, or perhaps even the other extreme, because this is kind of a range, and I've found that the market likes to prod on these areas. But anyways, we open in the middle of the range. I'm certainly not interested in trading at this point because I want to see the low be taken. Eventually the low is taken, and I would be looking for a retest here, but I don't think I would get it. Like I think I would want a long here, and then eventually I would want a long like here, but it just didn't come back. So no trade there. Eventually we do go higher. We do hit the hourly resistance, and so I think you almost certainly would want to take this trade. Really tight stop, so I mean you could wait for another pullback and get in there, and then you would target the range midpoint. I think it's pretty obvious. You could redefine the range obviously to be like session low to session high, then you have these equal lows here, really clean target. I think this is a very, very good trade. And then there was this as well, which is, you can see it's kind of interesting because on the hourly we have the inside bar at 1 p.m. and then we SFP this low, and so you could target the inside bar high. I think that that's completely reasonable, and so that would have been another decent trade. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Two pretty interesting days. And yeah, not really too much to say, to be honest. Um, I think the most actionable thing is probably the fact that I did trade on Thursday and I missed this because I just didn't like have the range low marked out, um, which is obviously a mistake. I did realize that hey, we have this overnight low here, but this is like near the range low, but I just didn't quite register like this is a really good opportunity to be longing. I only started thinking about longing like once we were in here, making like low, higher, low, higher, low. But I just think that I could be finding this because it's so clearly rejected the low and the structure is so obvious that it's like it's very, very, very logical in my opinion to try to go for range high. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Then eventually it just falls off and there's this little scalp here, and little scalp here. Well, they're not really scalps, but there's some trades you could take there and there, but yeah. And then when you have this 830 and it makes a range like this, I think it's really obvious that you play around the range. I think it's extremely obvious to play around the range. So I think that finding a short in here with a stop above here and a TP here is very reasonable. Even if it technically is ETH trading because the market only opened, in here. So shorting here is a little premature, but it's like we already had the volatility, right? Like there's not going to be crazy volatility near the open when you've already had the volatility from NFP. But yeah, eventually this hourly level, which, I'm very happy with this because this is how I draw levels now, since I clearly defined how I draw levels. You can see that, like, yeah, we came above, we retested as support, get back below, retest as resistance. Technically, we missed it by one take, but, whatever. Um, let's see, do we have the exact low? Yeah, that's the exact open and close. For some reason, it looks a little weird. It's like trading view. Trading view is like yeah. Yeah, TradingView just doesn't quite it doesn't quite want to put it on the bar, so it looks a little strange, but that's the level. And yeah, we hit it and we pull back. And that's about it. Yep.